Hello and good afternoon. I tell you what, I'm halfway in the screen here. I don't know why, but anyway, I'm lying on my couch here because I always do. So I should call it lying on my couch with Steve. But
Absolutely. Nice and
yeah, yes,
comfy.
yeah. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome for another episode. We had 4 episodes and 4 guests yesterday, which was brilliant. And thank you very much for all your support. Don't forget, guys, we're still looking for sponsors and everything to sponsor each program. And yeah, we're doing quite well at the moment. So thank you very much for all your support. I've got a lovely guest today. I've got Melissa. Hello, Melissa.
Well, hello, Steve. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. I was reading about you today,
Uh-huh.
and you do about because you do a lot of therapy work, don't you?
Yes, sir, I do. I do a lot of virtual-based therapy work. I am located in the States, in Pennsylvania, but I do have clients all over the world. I think that's the brilliant aspect of virtual therapy is that you can connect with anybody in the States, that you're licensed in the States, but I can connect with anybody internationally. And there's no licensure issue there. So it's amazing to be able to connect with people all over the world.
Yeah, because with your therapy, it's really good because it's online.
Yes,
It goes right around the world, and anybody in the world can contact you. And
absolutely.
yeah, and which is good because some places don't do that. You know,
Absolutely. And in some locations, I'm finding I had one client that was in the outskirts of Tuscany, and we were just talking about accessibility. And for her to be able to see a therapist in person, she would have had to drive a considerable amount of time. And so then you think about commute time and then therapy time and then commuting back, like it just was such a barrier for her where I just kind of show up via video in somebody's room and we get to be able to talk about, those issues they're dealing with.
yeah, and very nice too to see you, on screen and
Hmm.
everything.
Absolutely.
You're a very approachable person, and that's what they need, don't they? These people who are going through a bad time at the moment.
Right.
I get involved with mental illness and other subjects,
Hmm.
domestic abuse. And the trouble is, it's nice when they meet somebody online who can talk and can help them through the process,
Hmm.
of therapy.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I think we all, no matter what your background is, no matter what your life has looked like, there's all times in our lives that we hit those brick walls. And I'm just kind of chuckling at the irony of the brick wall behind me, but that wasn't done on purpose, I promise. But we hit those brick walls and we just need somebody it's not one of your people. It's not a friend or a family member. That's a professional to be able to step up and say, hey, let me guide you through this
Yeah,
so that
yeah,
we can get to that space that you can thrive and do whatever it is in your life that you were meant to do.
yeah. So tell everybody what you actually do, what kind of therapy do you offer? Because therapy is an open wide
It
subject,
is.
isn't it?
It
Yeah.
is. It
So if
absolutely
you
is.
could tell my listeners, we got around about what 6,000 on at the moment
Wow.
listeners.
Well, hello,
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
So I am also a graduate school professor, and what I tell my students all the time is when somebody asks you the question, "What kind of therapy you do?" don't ever answer eclectic because that kind of sounds like you don't know what you're talking about. So I'm going to violate my professor rules, and I'm going to say I have a very eclectic therapy style because I am just a huge believer that therapy needs to meet the person, not the person meeting my style therapy. So with that, I mean, I use a lot of cognitive behavioral techniques, dialectical behavioral techniques. We do some narrative therapy, which is super fun for people who really like to write and sort of delve into the stories that we tell ourselves. And in addition, I am a certified Brene Brown facilitator, which means the work of Dr. Brene Brown, which I know is worldwide right now, really talks about shame and those barriers that hold you back in order to achieve what it is you want to achieve. So I basically take a little bit of all of those and kind of mesh them together, but I really do not believe that people belong in boxes. And that's always been one of my frustrations is labels. Is
Mm.
let me pick a diagnosis for you. Let me pick a treatment modality for you instead of saying, hey, let's have a conversation and let's figure out what theory and what intervention is going to work best for you. And I think that gives people better results. I think it gets people more engaged because it's all about them and less about me. But
Yeah.
it's all still very grounded in theoretical based research. So it's not like we just make things up. But it is completely individualized to anybody who I end up meeting.
Yeah. The trouble is, though, that's what it's about these days, isn't it? People kind of like class people as labels.
Mhm. Yes.
It's
Yes.
like if you've got a mental illness problem, they
Hmm.
label you. If
Yes.
or even with domestic, violence or
Hmm.
whatever it is,
Hmm.
there's always a label, and they
Hmm.
need to take that stigma away,
Hmm.
and
Right.
forget about labeling people.
Hmm. Correct. Correct. Because the label, like, and I'm glad you used the word stigma because that's exactly what it does. And I have a lot of people, a lot of clients that come in and they're looking for a specific diagnosis or they want confirmation of a specific diagnosis, and my first question always is explain to me why that's important, because some labels they'll live with you your whole life. It's not something that ever is retracted from your medical chart, and I don't believe there's any shame in mental illness despite the fact that people still view it that way.
Yeah,
But I also don't believe that people need labels to follow them forever and the stigma that comes with it.
that's the trouble though, because I do a lot of mental illness, and I meet a lot of people. We got on our own page, website and stuff. We kind of like, we look after people who's got mental illness problems. We have a
Mhm.
support group,
Mhm.
and it's so difficult these days because, you know, even the medical professionals sometimes
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
use stigma towards people who's got mental health problems.
Right. Right, absolutely, absolutely, and so it comes across, and in my location, there are some physicians that are not comfortable even prescribing your basic, frontline psychotropic medications, just because they don't want to engage or be involved in that arena at all, which makes it very challenging for individuals to really find the care that they need, because they hit barrier after barrier after barrier. And I think accessibility to mental health services is really a problem that could be addressed and fixed, but I think it still exists. And virtual therapy, I think, helps break through some of those barriers, but I think there's a lot of work we could do.
Yeah. So, so you so when you do it online and everything and do it
Hmm.
all virtual,
Hmm.
you just said to me about there's more to do. What do you mean by that? What can we do more?
In order to eradicate some of the barriers? Is
Yeah,
that what? Okay.
yeah,
Well, I think that first and foremost, just more awareness and trying to really take that stigma and normalize it and understand that there are over 60% of individuals, that have some type of mental health diagnosis. And so here we have the majority, but yet it's something we don't like to talk about. And, there is so much shame involved for being, saying, well, hey, I have this diagnosis, or hey, I'm struggling with this. And I think the more we have conversations that, hey, this is normal. Like, I get it. You're exhausted. You're burned out. You are super stressed. You're anxious. You're in a slump. And let's talk through it and have a conversation and not feel so much shame around it. And then secondly, to have really adequate accessibility to services. And I know that changes from country to country, from state to state, but I think the accessibility could be enlarged to really allow for a greater access for people to not have to jump through 10 hoops until they get to see a therapist. If I were super depressed, and Steve, I'm calling you for therapy, and you tell me you have to do these 12 steps before I can even have a conversation with you, I might just say, yeah, I don't have the energy for those 12 steps, and not follow through. So it doesn't have to be immediate, but I think a little bit greater accessibility, because that first phone call is always the toughest phone call for anybody to make.
Yeah, the trouble is on here. What we do on here is that it's not just a podcast. We do radio too. We got
Right.
our radio, and what we do, we have counselors. So if we get people come on, and someone's listening to you, and out of that, so someone could be listening to you right now and said, "Oh, I need help for some reason." What we usually do is we usually kind of get a counselor to contact them, or they contact us. Who is who we know,
Right.
it could
I
be
think that's
anybody,
excellent. Yes,
such as
absolutely
you,
excellent.
and or someone else. And what we do is that we just pass them on to them, and so they can get all the help.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think that's an amazing resource, because if somebody is something resonates with somebody, to be able to talk to somebody who's been vetted. So it's not just some random person answering the phone,
Yeah.
It's someone who's been vetted, gives them that opportunity to figure out, okay, what is that next step?
Yeah.
And what kind of services do they truly need?
Yeah, but the trouble is, see, some people can't do the next step because they need
Right.
the help. They
Right.
need the
Yeah.
help right now.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so, and I'm glad you said about accessibility, because you know what I feel at the moment, there's not enough. Sorry, there's not enough information out there at the moment. To assess. To get help for everybody.
Correct.
And you've got to go through all these hoops to get. It's like mental health. It's like for us, you've got to go through these hoops, and it could be months for assessment for mental health.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
totally wrong, because
Yes.
by then you could be really suicidal,
Exactly.
whatever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And by then, um, somebody could get to the point, if they're in an unsafe situation, that increases the danger risk. If there's such, you had mentioned domestic violence a little bit earlier, it could increase that risk. And if somebody's a danger to themselves, even that waiting time, it almost sends the message, and this is a stretch here, but it almost sends the message of, you're not worth enough to have these immediate services. And that's not true. It's just a fault in the system. But I think that's what's interpreted a lot of times. And then the no-show rate is pretty high when people are waiting 3 months for an appointment. One of the things that I do in my practice is, if I can't see somebody for an initial appointment within 2 weeks, then I tend to refer them out. Because if I can't get you in under 2 weeks, and I really try a week, but if I can't get you in under 2 weeks, then I'm too busy to meet your needs, and that's not fair to you. But I have that luxury, being independent, being virtual, not following any rules of like a larger agency. But the more agency-based programs just really, there's so much red tape, it's really hard for that accessibility.
Yeah, yeah, I can see. Yeah, the trouble is, also, it's with anything. It could be mental health, it could be anything. The trouble
Mhm,
is, accessibility is the key beyond everything,
mhm,
because
mhm.
people need help, not tomorrow, but people need
Today.
help today.
Yeah, right,
You know what I
right.
mean? And the trouble is, we cannot. More we wait, it piles up all the appointments. Then,
Mhm.
then they turn around and say, "Oh, sorry, but we can't help you. You're on a
Mhm.
waiting list,
Right, right.
right?"
Exactly, exactly.
And they can't
Mhm,
get people to,
mhm,
kind of like see us,
mhm,
say,
mhm,
and it's another wait for another few months.
mhm,
I've been myself been through mental health.
mhm,
I've actually been suicidal, and I don't know if you know about my story, but I've been through all that, through
mhm,
suicidal. I've
mhm.
been there, and
Right.
I've actually waited for so long to see somebody, and in the end, I committed suicide.
Mhm,
It's because I
mhm.
couldn't wait no more.
Right, right, right. So firsthand, you understand that impact of how that weight really sets within somebody. And it's not just a number on a page. That
Yeah.
is a name with a person and a story and a life. And I'm certainly not Little Miss Mary Sunshine. I've been in this field long enough that I understand that I have a limited scope of who I can impact. But I just believe everybody is worth and value.
Of
And
course, yeah.
so
Yeah.
to give them that is so important, and a waiting list just makes them a number.
Yeah, of course. And everybody is in the trouble is everybody is a number. I've been
Mhm,
fighting on my obesity campaign too. And the
mhm,
trouble is I've been fighting, the government, I've been fighting everybody
mhm,
to change their attitude towards, waiting lists,
mhm,
you name it. And the funny thing about it is what you're saying now, we never even talked before.
mhm, mhm,
And you're coming out with something now that
mhm.
was on my list to mention to you. You know what I mean? So you're coming out of it. So
Right.
that's good. That's what I want. But the trouble
Mhm,
is, you'll see, we live in a world now where people basically think, oh well, they've gone the waiting list, that one's on the waiting list. And if
mhm,
you're really suicidal and really
mhm,
low and really down, sometimes all we want is someone to come along by the side of us,
mhm,
give us
mhm,
a cuddle and say,
mhm.
"Hey, Steve,
Right,
or
right,
whoever, things are going to be all right." But
right.
at the moment, life is treating us like rubbish. They're just
Mhm,
putting us on the waiting list,
mhm, mhm.
and
Absolutely. And I think that, it this was an issue 13, 18 months ago. But I think right now it's even a greater issue because, regardless of where you are in the world, you've experienced some form of quarantine,
yeah,
some form of restrictions. And I know every country's handling it differently. But that increases isolation.
mm,
And now you have somebody who's on a waiting list, who has depressive symptoms, and now we're throwing in isolation on top of it. It's really increasing, my concern about that residual wave of what is mental health going to look like. And we're starting to see some numbers, and we're starting to see some of the impacts, especially with kids who have been doing virtual school. But I think, as well as adults, I don't think we've seen the apex of it yet,
no, nope,
of the impact of this isolation, which there's already accessibility issues. There's limit to slots, and now I believe there's going to be a surge of individuals that just need to process through what the last years looked like for them.
yeah, oh yeah. I only received a email this morning, and I said to my wife, I got an email here,
Hmm.
and because of my health issues, what I had when I had my strokes and my heart attack, because I used to work, going, lots of hours and stuff.
Mhm.
and I came in and everything. And and I had a letter saying, "Oh, you have to stay in until the 31st of March."
Mhm.
That's another multiple weeks for me. I've got to stay
Mhm.
in,
Mhm.
and watch for
Mhm.
rules.
Right. Mhm.
So luckily
Mhm.
I've got this.
Yes, absolutely, because this keeps you going. Because my guess is the four walls have been kind of boring, and they haven't changed much for you.
No, they
And
haven't. No, no, they haven't. I've got a guest. Called Susan. I have a guest on every week
Mhm.
on a Monday, and she's called Susan Lee, and she says to me, she says, you know what? She says, Steve, why don't you just now and again change your furniture around or
Uh-huh.
put some
Uh-huh.
flowers in the room to
Yes.
make it? And
Right.
I'm thinking, I would do if I was if I would do if I could do it, but I
Right.
can't see.
Right. Right.
So, and she said, oh well, and it's so difficult. I was reading yesterday, only yesterday, that divorce rates have gone
Mhm.
up, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Through
Suicidal
the
rates,
roof. Yep.
yeah,
Through
through
the
the roof.
roof. Yep. Mhm.
Suicidal rates have gone up,
Mhm.
right? Domestic violence has definitely gone up
Mhm.
through the roof.
Mhm.
It's nearly on Mars, I
Mhm.
reckon.
Right.
So the trouble is at the moment in time, because of the coronavirus,
Mhm.
this world is in a mess.
Yes. Yes. I heard an interesting statistic earlier this week. And I don't know why this jumped out at me as much as so many others, that in the year 2020, people consumed 467 alcoholic beverages on average. And they were talking about the increase in substance use and abuse to cope. And I think just even thinking about it through that lens is that then fuels the domestic violence, that fuels
Mm,
the conflict between partners, that fuels the self-harm, because alcohol is a depressant.
mm,
Yes, it may numb you out, but then you're going to be depressed on the flip side of it. And so from all those perspectives, I just think the coronavirus really has had an impact worldwide, that I'm not quite sure we're ready to manage, but we're going to need to manage.
mm, mm.
And we're going to need to step up and meet those needs of those people.
Yeah, we're not ready yet, or are we?
Right. I personally don't feel so. I look at my schedule, and I remember being in the beginning of the pandemic and seeing on Facebook, like everybody, oh, look at my sourdough bread kit, and look at what I baked today, and look at all the cleaning I'm doing. And I'm looking at my schedule going, my client load has just doubled. And
Mm,
every clinician friend I have, like, our numbers skyrocketed because of the stress everybody was feeling. So
mm,
now there's clinicians who haven't had a break,
mm.
and are feeling a little bit overwhelmed and stressed. And I don't think the mental health surge has hit yet. So, that has to be factored into the
Mm.
mix of how do we make room for these people who are really going to need our services, take care of ourselves in the process as clinicians, but also be very cognizant of what's going on in the greater picture.
That's correct. Yeah. Let's go through some questions before we go.
Hmm.
Um, God, I've got loads of them here.
Oh,
Um, yeah, loads.
I love questions.
Melissa, thank you very much for coming on to Steve's program.
Hmm.
You are inspiration in what you do. A lot of therapists at the moment are going through bad times,
Hmm.
but also at the same time, they're helping so many.
Hmm.
Would it be possible if you can come back again sometime and talk more? Very interesting. Um, Sorry, I'm just reading these
Oh,
messages.
that's fine.
Um, do, do, oh, and I'm Melissa. If I'm going through a bad divorce at the moment because of lockdown,
Mhm.
can you kind of send me some kind words, and how can I deal with it?
Yeah, that's a tough one because you're in lockdown with somebody that there's a fractured relationship, but you're under the same roof. And it makes it a little challenging to go through daily life and deal with somebody while you're going through a bad breakup. And I strongly feel that in those cases, setting very clear boundaries and expectations, it can be done. It's probably not going to be the most joyful time in your life, but to set very clear expectations of how you're going to interact, what the communication is going to be, what the household responsibilities are going to be, but then make sure that your supports outside, whether they're friends or family, that you're connecting with them on a daily basis to have your emotional needs met. But clear communication as far as expectations in the home is going to decrease that conflict until you're able to move along. And it also takes the emotions out of it because a
Mm,
divorce is a very emotionally charged situation.
mhm. Um, what was it? My name's called Raymond. I'm from Orlando. Hello, Raymond. Raymond wants to know. I just lost my wife over the COVID period.
Mm,
I'm so
I'm
sorry
so
about
sorry.
that. Do you know where I can go about in Orlando to get help? Um, I can't help you at this moment in time, but if you'd like to leave your name
Hmm.
and your contact details,
Hmm.
I will be
Hmm.
able to get some help. I don't know if Melissa, do you know anywhere?
Off the top of my head in Orlando, I do not. However, contacting any home health agencies, anybody who goes into the home with nursing services, typically they have a grief support group for
Mm,
people who have lost significant others. And they typically have a chaplain that if they don't offer grief support, the social worker of the chaplain of that home health agency can get them connected in their local community. But there are grief support groups in any local community, even now. And actually, now might be a great time because they're probably virtual.
mm,
So I would contact a home health agency and see if they can point you in the right direction.
there you go. Um, and also, don't forget you can contact us if you
Hmm.
really need
Hmm.
help straight away. We can kind of like talk to you. We're I think we're about 24 hours. So anytime you want, just let us know.
Hmm.
Right, here we go. Margaret wants to know how long have you been doing therapy? I'd love to get into therapy because it could help many people.
Hmm.
Can you give me some tips how I can start doing that?
I'm gonna date myself here. Ooh, hello, as I hit my laptop. I have been doing therapy for 25 years, which makes me in the wise years of my life. But I've been in the field for 25 years, and I can't imagine doing anything else with my life. It is very rewarding. I think it can be challenging with boundaries and burnout and dealing with client trauma day after day, but there's ways to manage that effectively. So, anybody interested in pursuing any type of clinical degree, just looking at the university systems in your area, it typically in the United States requires a graduate degree. So it requires roughly in the state 6 years of school, an undergrad, and then a graduate degree. And then the challenging part, not that school isn't challenging, but is then there's about a 2 or 3 year waiting period that it's almost like you're an intern, and you're receiving clinical supervision in order to get your license. And then once you're licensed, you can basically do anything that you want to do with that degree. So it's very rewarding. I would encourage anybody who has a heart for it and a passion for it to check it out. People can contact Steve. He can absolutely forward you my contact information. If I can help point you in the way with education, absolutely we'll do that.
Thank you. Um, Louise wants to know. Okay. Hi, Steve. How are you? Congratulations on your podcasting and radio. I hear good news about it. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. Would it be possible if if I could talk to, sorry, talk to Melissa sometime about a matter. Yes, you can.
Hmm.
If you contact me, I will kind of like pass your details
Hmm.
straight on to Melissa
Hmm.
straight away. So that's not a problem at all. That's okay, isn't
Absolutely.
it? Yeah,
Yes, exactly. And or they can go to my website as well, which
yeah,
is
yeah,
just my name, melissarusiano.com. And they can contact me that way either. So either via Steve or just directly from my website.
yeah. But I had Melissa's website up earlier.
Hmm.
That's because I was showing everybody your website
Yes.
while you were talking.
I was like, wow, my face just popped up on the screen.
I always do that to everybody. It, it's exposure, you know what I mean?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I do that. Yeah. Here we go. Tony wants Tony wants to know I'm suffering from alcohol problems at the moment.
Hmm.
Through
Hmm.
COVID, it's been a hard time. My wife has
Hmm.
left me, and I need some counselling and support. I live in the Ohio area. Do
Hmm.
you cover that area?
I do cover Ohio. I am licensed in the state of Ohio. I do. So,
Oh, there you go.
he can reach out via my website. We can kind of talk and see if I'm a good fit. If I'm not a good fit, one of the things I'm very committed to do is make sure that then it's my responsibility to help that person get connected within their community, depending on what's going on. But absolutely would love to talk to them. And I am licensed in Ohio, so you're in luck. It's one of the states.
Yeah, yeah. And what else is it we got here? I will kind of like show Melissa's website. Don't worry. Here we go. Melissa's website.
There it is.
Yeah.
And just for your listeners, if you go up to the by state on the top of the menu, it does show you all of the states that I am licensed in. However, anybody who resides outside of of the United States, anything international, I am able to work with anybody who is on an international status. So
There you
that
go. Yeah. So you got California, Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania. You make me Frankenstein. Tennessee. Sorry.
That's okay. Yes.
I've got a warped sense of humor. Um, okay. Is that okay for you? Right. Thank you. Um, Richard wants to know online therapy. What is that? And well, online it's like counselling and um, explain it,
Okay.
Melissa.
It is traditional mental health services are usually provided. You go into an office, you sit across the room or a desk from somebody, and you kind of talk about your struggles and what's going on and what some of those barriers are for you, and really where some of the sadness or anxiety is coming from. With online therapy or virtual therapy, the only difference is I'm going to be looking at you via a computer screen versus across the room. So it's still going to provide the same level of care, the same engagement, the same skills. It's just going to be done virtually instead of in person, face to face.
Hmm.
I
Right.
hope that
Okay.
answers the question.
It certainly does. Um, we got another one here. Do, 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 do. Um, God, we got loads. Um, all I can say about the question, guys, if you can, I will look at them all
Mhm.
afterwards, and if it's any important ones for Melissa, I
Mhm.
will definitely pass it on to her, or I'll try to get her back on again, but don't tell her. Um,
I heard nothing. I didn't hear
yeah,
anything.
yeah, yeah. Okay. What else is it? Dorothy. Hi, Steve. Very interesting. This was. Can you please ask her to come back again with another topic? Love to hear her again.
Oh,
Okay.
you
Thank you
guys
very
are
much.
so sweet. Thank you.
Okay. Um, I loved. I loved today. That was really interesting. Thank you very much. Yeah. Um, Hi, Steve. Congratulations on what you've been doing. and I'll see you were what? I'll see you were in the charts. What charts? All right, podcast charts probably. I don't know. We
Mhm.
are about 79 in the podcast charts, by the way, so you're doing quite
Congratulations.
well. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you, thank you.
Mhm.
Well, what else are we doing? Oh yeah, here we go. Luke wants to know, um, do you deal with domestic violence?
I do deal with domestic violence. The tricky thing about working with domestic violence in a virtual setting is sometimes let me rephrase that. I will do an assessment because if there's safety concerns and safety issues, sometimes
Yeah,
that's better done in person. And I don't ever want to promise something I can't deliver. But absolutely, I've done assessments, have provided support, but also been able to link people up in their own communities with that face to face that can provide shelters or legal services in order to help with that situation. So, that's a very soft yes, I do, because it's just all dependent on what the situation looks like.
here you go, guys. Okay, Melissa, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
It's been really, 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 really good, and it's been really interesting because every time I kind of like get different guests on
Mhm,
from more backgrounds, I always learn something, and I take it away, and I
mhm,
it's like a tool for me. I uses it
mhm.
and I listens to it, and hopefully, we try to get you back again if you want to come back
I
again.
would love to come back again, absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, guys. Okay, just stay there for a second.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, guys, for helping me. For kind of like all your help for the past week or so. Don't forget, we're back on later on with some more fabulous guests. But in the meantime, I'm going to go off and get myself a cup of coffee
Very
and
smart.
have a rest and everything until later on. We've got two more shows today, two more, and we usually have around about four on. It depends when what the wife does. But in the meantime, thank you and goodbye, and don't forget, take care. See you on the
Absolutely.
next adventure. Bye bye.